Good afternoon in the United States and good evening if you're in the United Kingdom. This is Talking the Tightrope. I have a very special guest with me this evening, afternoon/evening. It is one Mr. Steve Bosworth of HobbyFX.co.uk. Steve and I have a very interesting friendship that came about from YouTube, and Steve emailing me out of nowhere right after I had finished the season 0 of Vampirism Bites, releasing it during 2009. And what happened was I actually got a YouTube inbox message out of the blue where he had asked, like, hey, are you going to do more of this show? Do you, I don't know, do you want some Fangs? And with that very interesting message on YouTube out of nowhere from dude in England, I was able to get these really spectacular custom, like, professional vampire veneers for both Natalie Baxter, who was Belle in seasons 0 and 1, and Katie Laban, as well as the Dracula, played by Jackie Floyd, who were Belle and the Dracula in seasons 2 and 3. And so I welcome with me this afternoon/evening Mr. Steve Bosworth.
Hi,
How are you doing
James.
tonight, Steve?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's start at, all stories start at the beginning. Let's get to the beginning of Steve's story. Before you actually made or started HobbyFX, let us know kind of how you got to wanting to do that in the first place. What was the road you took to get there?
Ooh, very, very long time ago. Um, I can trace an interest in like vampires, if you like, back to age 10. Um, and they used to come back from school. There used to be the old Little Vampire series on the TV, and I wanted Fangs. It's as simple as that. And over the years, the sort of trying to find some good ones or any ones at that age is impossible. Bearing in mind that's 30 years ago now. That's a long time. I found the odd book in the library, that sort of thing. Careers take over, it all gets pushed to a side. And then, I don't know, it sort of came, I found the book on Amazon, and it's kind of the hobby that stuck. So,
I like that. That's a good way to put it. The hobby that stuck.
um,
Man, I can't get this hobby out of here. Dag nabbit.
are you familiar with the old Hardy Boys books?
I actually am not. I am not.
Okay, Frank and Joe Hardy, like Sons of a Detective. They're very popular kids' books in the 70s, 80s, I think. But they always had a friend, Chet. In every different book, he had a new hobby. And after that book, it was never mentioned again. That's like hobbies with me.
Nice. All right.
That's
Okay.
why this is the hobby that stuck.
Okay, the Hardy Boys, because usually over here they usually mention Nancy Drew before they mention that, like, the Hardy Boys are just these poor, hobos afterwards. But okay, so now we know Steve is the Chet to the Hardy Boys to the Nancy Drew. We just have to figure out the other three parts. I like it. Hey,
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So starting HobbyFX itself, how did you finally reach the point where you decided, okay, I'm doing this as a hobby. Okay, the hobby stuck. So for you, what was the point where you decided, you know what, I'm going to see if I can turn this into a business?
I had actually been made redundant. And with a hobby that was starting to make some money, it was the natural thing to sort of try and do, really. I think for anybody that's has their own little business and a job, making that leap is a massive one. When you've suddenly lost your job, the decision gets a lot easier.
I imagine so, yeah. Unemployment is the mother of necessity there. Ugh, that's rough.
Hmm. But
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, but four or coming up on 5 years later, seem to be doing okay. So,
Yeah, not the worst in the world. I've actually had a lot of fun watching how HobbyFX has sort of grown and expanded from the beginnings to where you actually, it wasn't just Steve by himself all the time. He could actually get, maybe one or two people to help him once in a while.
Now and again, yeah.
Now and again, yeah.
When I first contacted you, it was still a hobby, so big change from those days. So.
Oh, absolutely, which is awesome. Go ahead and tell us. This is the thing I've been curious about. So you're watching. I imagine that when you're first doing the hobby, and you're probably looking through YouTube for like, let's look for different vampire series or short films or stuff like that. So you come across my season 0, and I guess the thing I've always wanted to ask is, what caused you to want to write me that note saying, hey, might you do more, might you want some Fangs? Because this, I've always wondered, like, how did a guy from England just decide, this dude clearly is not in England, but I'm just going to drop him a line?
As sort of previous stated, I'm a big fan of like vampire cinema from an early age. I think people get, like a lot of people, gone quite disillusioned with the whole Hollywood thing, and so I turned to a place like YouTube. And I think the lower budget, it'd be nice to have a higher budget, but for now, the lower budget productions that you're finding on YouTube with great production values, I think they're the future, to be honest. I don't know, and I came across your series as part of one of my little regular web series searches I do. I liked it, but that little same sort of niggly little thing that I was always thinking was, why don't these vampires have teeth? So, and it's an opportunity to help you and get my work out, seen out there a little bit more. So that's why I contacted you, really.
Hey, not a bad impetus. I had actually, part of the reason why I didn't use Fangs at all is because the only Fangs I could get access to were those cheesy plastic, like Hollywood, Halloween USA style, just the really cheap ones. And for me, it was just like, I would rather create an entire legal structure that the Dracula enforces on vampires, because that's what I actually did in Vampirism Bites. Basically, the Dracula started writing laws as social awareness of vampires changed, and so I could be like, well, the Dracula forces vampires to shave their canines so they're not as obvious to everyone else. I never liked the True Blood like Fang trigger. Like that was always the physiology of that was kind of weird to me. I mean, I know what they based it on, but the Switchblade thing was always strange. So I just figured, those are bone. They don't flex that easily inside a human mouth. Let's just do it to where the Dracula set up an edict that you shave your canines.
Yeah, I remember you saying about that. What you could find at the time you didn't like, so that's why you'd sort of gone down that route. And I really liked the idea that you shave the fangs off. Personally, I'm not a fan of the supernaturally sort of growing teeth that you see in some films. They're either there or they're not. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, I just figured, it's bone. It doesn't grow that fast. I mean, I know that, like the werewolf transfer, okay, they're turning into an ant, but a vampire, that's usually the only major physiological thing beyond pale skin that's, always sort of regular. So I was going to be happy doing the shave fangs thing the whole series through. And when I took the rider on this offer from the guy from the UK, and we got the thermoplastic. What I really love is you're really clear and efficient on how you explain using your kits. You do as idiot-proof as you possibly can, and of course there are still mistakes and stuff that people will do at times. I can only imagine some of the things that you've seen when it comes to molds. But just Steve gave a really concise, efficient set of instructions. He gave you illustrations, colored illustrations on those instructions, so you knew what you were looking at. Just the setup when we were doing the kit with Natalie the first time was phenomenal. There was no point where we were scratching our heads about anything. And then you know, we got the molds done, we sent them out, and I was just nervously waiting for like, okay, let's see what happens here. This is the first time I've sent royal mail. This is kind of strange, and that's weird. Queen Elizabeth II was never a United States president. That's a stamp for them. Okay, that's strange. So did all that, and then when they finally came back and we opened up the little plastic container that they came in, Natalie and I were completely floored by the phenomenal work that you put together. The color, the form, the shape, the way that they worked. The 3 actresses that we've had on VB that have worn the Fangs, all of them said that once they got past the adjustment period of having the new hardware in their mouth for a while, most of the normal speech impediments you get from the bigger plastic Fangs, there was a slight lisp that they had, and then once they got used to how they were in their mouth, they almost eliminated it nearly 100%. And that's just awesome work, Steve. Just let me take time to publicly say, you, sir, did a badass job.
Thank you.
Well, you're more than welcome. They were spectacular. So he did it for us 3 times, and you didn't only, you expanded from Fangs eventually, probably as your business started growing a little bit. What other stuff did you start to get into? Go ahead and tell us about how you expanded HobbyFX.
It's not expanded as much as I would have hoped over the years, but we're getting there slowly. Trying to do a bit of like prosthetic makeup as well. So imagine things like you see in Buffy. You got the scary bumpy foreheads and things like that. Yeah.
You've also done like I think I've seen images of like your slash wounds.
Yeah, just
zombie wounds, stuff like that.
Trying to get that a bit more settled on that now, because I've got a new web shop that I'm trying to launch. So kind of got to knuckle down and get on with a lot of stuff. The latest thing I'm doing is little claws. There isn't really. There's one place I know of that does like claws for live action role play or cosplay or whatever. So I've started doing they're like flexible.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know, you personally, if you've ever tried wearing false nails. Ooh. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I haven't had the opportunity. That's all. I'm the guy behind the camera, and it's really hard to operate all the little buttons with fake nails.
Which, when you look at some of the big hard claws that I've found out there, they're very bulky. So I've been trying to make something a little bit more discreet, something that's a bit more user-friendly, something you can, undo your zipper with without them pinging off somewhere into the distance.
I think that's one of my favorite things about everything that you're doing when you're creating this stuff is you're basically trying to find an efficient method, not just in creating them, but in actually using them, which is just probably one of my favorite things. A lot of your stuff is like, hey, I don't like it when they lisp with big fake-ass teeth either. Let's, use dental acrylic so they can at least talk and do certain things as normally as possible. I love the fact you're like, yeah, those gloves are too goddamn big. Like, let's make them so you can actually. It's like when I'm trying to do stuff in the winter and I have big ass gloves and no tactile sensation and the flexibility in your hand is compromised. I just really love that you're like, hey, let's try to make it so it doesn't cost you $9 billion to be able to get a decent set of claws or wounds or fangs or stuff like that. That's really cool. So what other projects beyond Vampirism Bites have you gotten into with your Fangs, with your monster makeup? Are you getting more of those? Does that sort of stay the same for you?
Sorry, what was that? Sorry?
What other projects beyond Vampirism Bites, what other projects have you been able to get some of your wares into? Fangs, claws, your prosthetic wounds, anything like that?
I've sort of got involved with the odd little low-budget film or shorts out there. Recent one for what are they called? They go by the name of The Great Escape. That's the production company name. Quite a low sort of budget, but lots of energy and lots going on. And they've done a few kind of little short web series before. And one of them I was an extra in. I was a zombie vampire, of all things.
Okay, that's an interesting mix-up.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like most of the time I'm kind of sat in my home or in my garage just making things that I sell online. So, but it's nice now and again I get to just go out and get involved a little bit more.
Absolutely. Now, what is it when it comes to, you had said earlier being disillusioned by the sort of Hollywood thing. What is it? What's the contrast that draws you more towards independent projects as opposed to trying to work your way into doing effects on a major movie? Does it feel like there's more passion? Does it feel like a better creative process? What is it for you personally?
The easiest way to sum it up for me is the independent market has a lot of really, really good, juicy ideas. But when you get somewhere high up on that corporate ladder with the way off the screen there, it's all about the money, isn't it? It's if they get a screenplay through or a script or whatever, and they read it and go, no, we can't see the value in that. But people like you, which whilst you're currently, on that ladder a little bit lower down, but working your way up, you've got these ideas that, how do I put it? Hollywood is stuck in a rut. No, how many original films have you seen recently? It's all, well, this film is a copy of, that slightly older film. It's a different characters, it's a slightly different storyline, but it's the same thing. The whole Star Wars is really cowboys and Indians, but just more effects and in space, sort of thing. So I love the fact that independent filmmakers aren't reliant on particularly the need, they don't need their film to make $200 million at the box office to get their story out. So,
yeah, I think it makes sense. I think I had spoken with a couple of guests before, but one of the best effects, there's good and bad with the democratization of filmmaking and technology and the internet being able to distribute it. The best thing is there's no one that can really say no if you have a way to create whatever your piece of entertainment is. It doesn't matter what genre, whether it's just, an experimental film or whatever. It's at a point now where there's actually no guy in a suit that can actually say no.
Precisely.
YouTube doesn't have a filter that says, is this good enough? It just says, upload it up here, and people may watch it, people may not. That's the risk I took when I started Vampires and Bites. I'm like, all right, this could be a piece of shit that no one cares about, that me and my friends and my family and my mom will watch it a couple times, and she'll lie to me and tell me it's good and pat me on the head. But no, it worked out really well. It opened up a lot of doors, allowed me to contact people like Steve, and YouTube user Redneb is a Swedish rock guitarist who does the theme for Vampires and Bites. He did Toccata and Fugue using, I love it, he used the actual pipe organ sheet music, he just played it on a 6-string guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we got that particular theme, is one of his YouTube videos, and he allowed us to use that particular song. So it's just, the democratization allows a lot of people who otherwise couldn't contact each other, like minds. Without the internet, you and I would have never seen each other's stuff at all. So that's one of the massive permanent benefits to it. And we've also had discussions where, the bottom is where you innovate. The bottom of a ladder or a pool of creativity is where a lot of innovation is. But at the top of the ladder, you're absolutely right. Sequel, reboot, reboot of the sequel. That's kind of what cost Spider-Man box office in its latest installment. They rebooted it immediately after 3 with a new cast, and then it's just sort of like we've already kind of seen these stories, and it just feels like it's too much in too small a space. So I can certainly understand that. So one of the things with my series of Vampirism Bites, and just creative life in general, are challenges, and it's the thing people don't like to talk about. Everyone loves to talk about the string of successes and how badass something is, but a lot of the time we miss out on what it took to get to that point. I didn't wake up one morning with a completely finished script handed to me by the script fairy to do season 0 and an instant expert knowledge of how to use my camera equipment and all that kind of stuff. I had to learn that, and one of the things I'm proudest of with Vampirism Bites is it is technically rough at the beginning, and as you move through episodes, you move through seasons, everyone gets better at what they do, and that's seriously probably one of the single biggest points I'm most proud of, is that everyone kept getting better as we moved through the seasons, except of course for HobbyFX boy here, who just decided I'm going to be awesome right off the bat, so take this. And just because you just woke up one morning and had a mastery of how to create dental acrylic fangs, and everyone knows that's how it happened. I'm just kidding. Let us know some of the challenges for doing what you love to do, for bringing HobbyFX into a realm where you actually, you can make a go of it, where it's helping to pay your bills, where it's helping to take care of your responsibilities. But before, how did you get to this point? What have been some of the biggest challenges for you in creating and growing HobbyFX?
Mainly, really, just sort of getting my name out there, and like the contacting you thing before, getting my work seen. I've met some really awesome people along the way doing this who also like my work, that they've gone out of their way to help me do the odd review, that sort of thing. I mean, that is the one biggest challenge, really, is just getting my name out there, and it's a niche market, and there are others from the vampire communities. Yours, no disrespect, is make believe. There are actual vampire communities out there.
Oh yeah, it's actually a social sphere. Yeah, I've heard and read about them before.
Yeah, there are what they call fangsmiths within those circles.
That's an awesome title, Fangsmith. That's pretty sweet.
I don't personally go with that one, but yeah, it's sort of a very closed and sort of tight-knit little world, I think. Quite private to most of the outside world as well. But that's where I came from. I wanted to have my own set of fangs. Primarily for me, a lot of where this started was is that I've got a particularly crooked tooth here, and the cheapy things just didn't fit me. So having sort of found all the special effects makeup books, and later on all the tutorials on YouTube and the groups on Facebook and everything, that was my thing. Strive to make something that is different to what's out there at the minute, and I just got to try and push it and get people to recognise it, and we're not doing too bad.
I would say so. I've liked watching the growing group of fans and or customers as they've expanded. Now, is the technique that you have, was that a technique that did you learn the full technique from someone or somewhere else? Is it a hodgepodge of different pieces of different techniques? We don't need specifics, but I mean, how did you, what's the roundabout way you came toward developing your particular style for fang creation?
There is a book by Tom Savini. He's got a couple of makeup books out. He runs a school as well. But he has a method in his books for doing them, and I've kind of adjusted it. I've kind of made my own little tweaks to that method. There's kind of a couple of ways I do them. There's for the product that you had, and the product that I kind of have. Where's my camera gone? There
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Things.
Product placement.
This is, yeah. This is kind of what I sort of bill as my my budget range. It's meant to look realistic. It still takes a fair amount of time, but it's not as much time as the sort of more detailed way of doing things. You know, when you watch things like, I don't know now, Being Human, or you've seen them on Doctor Who, things like that. There's a very particular way that they sort of sculpt detail into a model on somebody's teeth and everything, and it's very long-winded. It's quite costly as well. So, you know, these things are sort of my effort to do something that's a little bit different. And if you're like me with a crooked tooth and a missing tooth and whatever else, it covers it up quite nicely as well.
Yes, that the shiny perfect teeth effect. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, do you have another another type of fangs that you create? Is that from there? Is there like a higher level model, if you will, or is it all pretty much in the same range?
It's, well, because I've done more than just fangs. You know, fangs is a generic sort of thing. For the squeamish out there, you may want to look away, but this is a set I recently did for my fiance.
Nice.
So I kind of got oh, I just dropped it. I made a set that was basically put a nice bit of blood in the mouth and pretend that you just, you know.
Nice. Got punched in the face. All right.
Missing tooth. Yeah, it's. Let me just. I don't know if I can do this on the webcam, but I put the two together. Mine are obviously the bigger ones underneath, but basically, especially like with this area here, there's a lot of detail in there, whereas these ones is actually just quite flat.
Yeah, I can see there's a little less detail, a little less color. Yup.
You know, these ones you could get a camera that close into it, and it'll look like real teeth. These ones, you know, they're not meant to be close-up set, if you like. They're just meant, you know, they're just meant to look realistic. Yeah. And many people just want them as thin as they can possibly get them. So, you know, you have to make what's the word?
Got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Customer satisfaction. I can get you there.
So
how long does it take? We'll use both of those models. Actually, that's great comparison. Like how many hours are put into creating both sets of fangs, both the, I guess, consumer set of fangs and then the more professional set of veneers for you?
It's kind of not all in one go, because I do things. If I've got like 10 orders at a time, I'll do them a particular process on each one, so as a batch. But
almost like an assembly line, yeah.
Yeah, probably with that kind of one, there is 3 to 4 hours all up. I probably spent about 7 or 8 on that one. So.
Yeah, that's a considerable difference. Yeah, that's almost twice as much from the detail work and everything, I'm imagining.
Yeah, it's a very different process that gets used. So it's, but yeah, it takes longer. It's a little bit more artistic in that way.
Oh, absolutely. Especially, basically, it amounts to deeper customization. Really.
Yeah.
So. Typically in a month, how many, like what's the volume? Like how many sets of veneers are you creating typically in a month for you?
I think on average about 20.
Yeeks. And that's of
Maybe
like
more.
mixed varieties, mostly one type of veneer, a mixed variety of veneers.
Predominantly just the simple fangs.
Okay, 20 in a month. And how does October? I don't know. There's something particular about October that seems to spike them. How do your Halloweens go?
Um, I've only celebrated one in the last 5 years.
Man, that's a lot of candy you're missing out on.
I think I've had too much candy before, I think.
Oh, okay, so the HobbyFX has saved you from dental problems to avoid candy. All right, well, there are worse things.
Yeah, it gets a little bit busy this time of year, as you might expect.
I imagine so. Now, what I really like about this is, you were talking about like vampire as an actual social communities, but this isn't just a Halloween thing for you. This is pretty much all year round. What do you think attributes to that sort of year-round interest?
Because I think for a lot of the people out there, Halloween is. I mean, for us in the UK, it's pretty much a one-day thing. I know for you guys, it can last weeks. It seems to, at least from what I see online. For a lot of people in the alternative communities, Halloween's every day. It's just a bit more special at the end of October.
Yeah, on Halloween they're ironic and they dress as average people.
Hmm.
That's how exactly. That's their costume. Like this is the scariest thing ever. It's a guy that does accounting because that's some bullshit.
Not so much for me, but I know of people that I have friends that it's like Halloween is the one time of the year people don't kind of make fun of what they're wearing. This might be your everyday clothing. You know, we wear black predominantly anyway, but at Halloween, nobody cares.
Yeah, there's no shit talk or anything like that. I can certainly imagine that.
Hmm.
So so you got this about year round. What's the ratio? Because I mean, cosplay has started exploding in the past few years. I mean, it's always been there, but it's only maybe in the past 5 or 6 years that you've really seen a sort of dedicated effort to really take cosplay to new levels of quality, new levels of detail. Is that sort of, are you starting to see that when it comes to people coming to Hobby Effects? Are you starting to see more people looking for pieces to add and help with their cosplay? Has it always been the same for you?
You see it a little bit. The cosplay community is, I think, actually quite unique in itself. Is that it is the amount of creativity that you see from these people. Most of them make their own costumes. Okay, you can, if you're not as skilled, no, I can't. So I'd probably end up buying mine from somebody who makes one of those costumes. But a lot of those people make every little detail. So cosplay, kind of a tricky one to judge. I get a few people from the cosplay world. It's hmm. But they're, like I say, they're the ones that if they can't do it, they will find out how to do it.
Interesting, kind of like Steve Bosworth did when he wanted a set of veneers that fit his own teeth.
Yeah,
Yes,
precisely.
full circle right there. That's a full circle. So hobby effects. What would you like to get into, say, in the next 3 to 5 years? Are there areas of monster effects, of monster makeup that you might want to get into? Are there things that are interested you, but you just haven't had time or knowledge in order to get into them? Where do you potentially want to take yourself in 3 to 5 years?
It'd be nice to get myself out there working on some higher budget little films and TV and things like that. Um, Kind of, if you like, the special interest side of what I'm doing is that the day in, day out, what you tell me like your bread and butter aspects is the aforementioned the web shop. Um, it's kind of like, how can I put it? If like you're a musician and that, you know, album sales throughout the year pays your bills. Every now and again, you get to do a big concert, and that's the fun part, if you like. So it's I don't know. You know, I really hate the "what do you see yourself doing in 5 years" questions.
Well, not so much what you see yourself, but what do you want to do? And I think you answered that actually pretty well. You want to try to move into, because I mean, just like me, I love making content at this level, but I want to move up a level. I want to be able to do it so that it's my it's my day job. It's what's paying my bills. I want to get to that point of regular album sales so that way I can be able to do those. I mean, I actually like that analogy. I want to get to those regular album sales so that way I can move into doing those concerts and those special events. That's what we're all looking to do. Like
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of like we want to find that balance to where we don't want to quite hit those corporate doldrums, but it's not like we all want to just be starving artists our entire lives. That's not like an exciting thing we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
It's like we're not bragging like, hey, I couldn't pay my light bill this month because I'm a badass artist.
I think, yeah, it's very much a case of when it's your hobby, you dream of it being your job. When it's your job, you dream of just being able to carry on having it as your job. And building that fan base, building the your skills up along the way is the kind of the key to doing that, really.
I love it. Now, I know one of the things when you were getting the word out, we did our own behind the scenes or behind the Fangs videos for VB. You also had other user reviews. Other users make like YouTube video reviews and stuff like that. How does that beyond? I mean, yes, it gets your name out there, but for you, how does it feel when you see your stuff out in the field being used, especially in the case of not just for filmmakers and guys that are people that are making entertainment, but people that are just using them for their own costuming purposes? How does it feel when there's people out there going like, "Hey, look at these things; they're friggin' sweet."
Humbling.
Really? Okay. Why so?
I'm far too modest for my own good. I'm not. That's not trying to. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean?
I do.
I have a lot of people going, "Wow, these are fantastic! Oh man," and I'm like, "Really?" That's my art though, and every artist has that same kind of thing, don't they?
Yeah, I'm guilty of it too. Like there are certain points in VB where someone's like, "Oh man, like this sequence or blah was really good," and I'm just like, "Really?" Because I was scared to death that it was going to be a piece of shit.
Hmm.
I was worried that this special effect wasn't going to work or trying this wasn't going to work. And there's those particular things where we're luckily we're still in the humility stage. We're not calling ourselves pimps yet, anyway. Although to be completely fair, my day job is a street pimp, and it's really hard. I'm just trying to transition out of the street pimping phase. Filmmaking's a lot less violent, and a lot less real violent. It's hard out here for a pimp, Steve. You're a pimp in England. You know how that is. Exactly. Now, see, there, he's being humble again. That's how we know he's being humble about his skills.
Yes, my ladies have, teeth though.
Hey, exactly. Yeah, their bite is worse than their bark.
Most definitely.
I like it. So when you have these customer reviews, have there been certain customers that you've sort of like we did with Vampirism Bites? Have there been certain YouTube reviewers and costumers that you sort of develop relationships with? Are there people that we can sort of highlight to show your Fangs in different? Because there's the way we use the Fangs in VB, but it's different from how they use it in costuming, which is different from how they use it for semi-regular use for actual vampire social communities. Are there any other like major users that we could highlight down in the description box of the archive version, so we could be like people that might be interested, want to know more about the process, know more about your wares, to get exposure to the different kinds of uses of your veneers?
Uh, yeah, I mean the two main current ones that come to mind. Um, there is user on Facebook, YouTube called JHermBaby. Jessie Hermanson is her name. She's actually grown into quite a close sort of online friend from way back in the beginning. Um, and I have another one that is Brittany, and she goes under the username Scream Kiwi. It's like XX Scream Kiwi XX, I think. I don't think I've seen one of her videos where she's not wearing my product, and it's just like, wow, that somebody could love it that much that they never want to take the things out. I can say when this goes up on the archive anyway, I shall put some comments in there, tag a few people, I think, anyway. But they're probably the two main ones right now that just sort of immediately spring to mind.
Okay. No, I love it because, I mean, one of the things I'm happiest about, I mean, your Fangs blew me away. They blew our actresses away. So I'm more than happy to, spread the word on just how great the work is. And the prices, I mean, yeah, these aren't $20 plastic Fangs, but what you're getting for the price points is phenomenal value. I mean, honestly, Steve, the price points that you have set have a great value for what they're getting in return, which I absolutely love. They're not the price point is not dirt cheap bargain basement, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. They last for years. Just keep them clean. There's no like intensive regimens to keep them clean. The instructions are very simple, very efficient, just like everything else that he's done. But it's just the value, the durability, the longevity that those things have for their price point is just absolutely amazing, Steve. Seriously, more credit. I'm gonna turn on your humble meter until you just sort of like melt from too much humility and you just can't handle it anymore. There's just no exactly. Like, please stop it. I'm melting. Stop being nice. Say something awful right now. So I guess as we come to the end point here, there are other Steve Bosworths out there. They have a particular hobby, whatever that particular hobby is. It may not just be creating exactly what you do, but there may be something else that just really drives their passion, something they really want to do, something that they think they could do all the time. So there's a young guy out there in a similar position with a similar kind of passion. Let's do three things, three major points of advice that you would give someone in your position 5 years ago that's on the edge of like, I could do this hobby, maybe I could do it professionally. What three key points of advice would you want to give them to go to that level?
Oh, yeah. Work harder. There's one. Value money. And that's quite a deep one, I think, but a lot of people get paid, spend it, get paid the next month. You work for yourself, you really learn the value of money. I don't know now. Third one. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Look at this profundity coming from Steve Bosworth. Actually, no, I completely like valuing money. Actually, is a great point. I actually love the way that you put that. I've never actually, I've thought of the concept with like a lot more words, but I like the value money. You're absolutely right. When you don't have a lot to spend, every dollar counts way more than when it's like, we can throw money at this, and we can just get a bunch of these. That's easy to do.
On that particular one, I came up with a little saying for my own use, and that is need, want, and desire. It's like I need food. I need to pay the rent. I want a better car. I desire a Bugatti. You know, there are 3 levels of things. Take care of what you need first. Try and work on what you want, and always have a goal to aim for.
Oh, absolutely. Like I think that's probably having that long-term goal is what I think that's the aspect that people can get not so much burned out on, but that's the one that they'll lose. And so as they start moving up the ladder, they keep forgetting to readjust that goal farther out.
Yeah.
And it can cost you. Like it can cost you your passion. And you'll get into that rut where it becomes the grind. It doesn't become the day job you love to do every day of your life. It turns into the very grind that you were complaining about when you got into that particular thing.
Yeah.
So it's always trying to avoid that, because nothing would break my heart more than going, oh God, I got to make another movie today. Lame. Why can't I go work at a gas station? Damn it.
Trust me, if you work for yourself, there are times that you think that, because that regular paycheck is taken for granted so much. When you know you're going to get that amount of money at the end of next month, you don't worry if you've spent too much this month. When you don't know what you're going to get next month, yeah, you learn to value it.
Now, I imagine that also, in some ways, that'll make you more cautious, but in some ways, does that uncertainty also help drive you, would you say, when it comes to wanting to expand, wanting to get your name out there? Has it also become a motivator as much as something to help you protect yourself?
Yes, I mean, definitely. It's because that's fear or worry or whatever is always there. Yeah, you can't afford to just sort of sit on your laurels and hope.
So when I become ridiculously, insultingly wealthy and I buy you a Bugatti Veyron, will you suddenly this is a serious question, sir. I will not have you laughing. When I buy you a Bugatti Veyron, will you suddenly retire from making Fangs? This is world-shaking news right here. Yes or no?
No. I should just adjust my desire, and my next thing will be a space shuttle I want.
Very clever, Mr. Bosworth. All right, let me get my wallet. Space shuttle it is. It's going to be one of those Richard Branson models, though, so you're going to have to wear like a crazy blonde power wig to approximate his hair.
Okay.
Those are the rules. Yeah, those are the rules to a spaceship. There's nothing I can do about that.
All right, a submarine then.
Excellent. Alrighty, well, Mr. Steve Bosworth, thank you so much for coming with us this afternoon/evening. This was a really fun interview.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, again, we're going to have down in the description box, we'll have links to his website right now. You said you're opening a web store up soon. So once you have that up and running, we'll also update the information with that link as well. To go to your deeper store. We'll also have some of the other prominent YouTube users that Steve has to sort of show. You can watch Vampirism Bites again. Part of the reason I brought Steve on, this is the 5th anniversary, speaking of 5 years, it's the 5th anniversary of Vampirism Bites. We've released the complete Season 0, the complete first season, where the entire seasons are single videos. This week we'll be releasing Season 2. And, part of the reason is, the 5th anniversary of Vampirism Bites, very near and dear to me, very important to me, will always be important to me. We have that going on through the rest of the month of October. And we'll also, with other YouTube users that prominently display as Fangs, if you're thinking about getting a set of veneers from Steve Bosworth, we want to show you all the different ways that they can be used, all the different applications, how they look at different circumstances. The way they look in my show versus this other web series versus a costumer, cosplay, all that kind of stuff. Something for you to consider to see exactly what kind of value and quality you will get, not that you might, but you will get from Steve and the phenomenal work that he does. So check those out down in the box, click on the links, and all the contact points are there for you just in case you may want to go and purchase some of his wares. Mr. Bosworth, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight.
Absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you. I don't have another guest yet scheduled for Talking the Tightrope. We're actually getting in the grind. We shot a bunch of sketches this past Sunday, political sketches, and another week of 5-second films are coming up. We're doing 5-second films week again this year. We have the other 2 seasons of Vampirism and Bites. When we have the next Talking the Tightrope, we'll let you know. And hopefully, somewhere down the road, when Steve expands into his phenomenal factory with 500 employees that he drives his Bugatti into, we can have him back on the show, maybe from space. Maybe we'll have Steve Bosworth from space, which would be phenomenal, because I would be the first guy to do a sweet space interview that wasn't through NASA. So I hope those veneers can be seen through a space helmet, Steve.
Yeah.
And there it is. That's where his passion died. I just killed his passion with terrible humor. Party, so
managed 3 or 4 or however many thousand miles already, so that's already a giant leap.
Yeah, but I want like thousands more coming up into space. That'd be sweet.
Okay.
Okay. I'll buy the Tang. I'll buy the spaceship and the Tang. The rest of the stuff you'll have to take care of. It's just that simple.
That's fine.
So, for my guest, Mr. Steve Bosworth, I am James Fernandez. I am the man to blame here at Tightrope. Thank you for joining us for this Talking the Tightrope. And until we see you next time, have yourself a good set of evenings.